What's happening, folks? In today's video, it's going to be just more of a sit down and talk at you sort of video, and that's because I want to show you / talk you through the first ever street photography interview that I have done, that I've been interviewed for. So I was interviewed by the Northern Street Collective. This is a fairly new street collective community, and I actually think that I saw them at first a little while ago, and because it was the Northern Street Collective and I am not in the north of England, I assumed that I wasn't allowed to be part of this community, so I saw it and was like, oh, that's cool, and then moved on. And it was not that long later that the guy that runs it, who I think I was following anyways, contacted me and asked if I wanted to be interviewed for it. And I thought, that sounds awesome, and I guess that it's actually for anybody who wants to be a part of it. And even since that first initial contact, I've seen that community grow really quickly, and it's actually been a pretty cool resource to find new photographers and sort of build a little Instagram community type thing. The guy that started this collective found me through a Samuel L. Streetlife street critique video. So that's pretty cool. He found me through submitting to another community based photo critique thing. It's kind of funny how stuff like that happens and things grow from it. You meet other people through it. Anyways, the first question was, for those unfamiliar with yourself, could you give us an introduction to you and your work? I said I'm a street photographer, I'm a YouTuber, and I'm a wedding photographer. I'm originally from Dumfries, Scotland, but I moved to the USA in 2016. Originally I lived in Massachusetts, I then lived for 3 years in Philadelphia, and as of about a month and a half ago, I live in Colorado Springs. And also said that my street work is characterized by strong shadows, graphic elements, bright colours, and anonymity, although I do try and remain open to anything. And when I say that, it's not like cut and dry, that is the way I like to shoot. It's just kind of how I've developed over the last year through the influences that I've had and the sort of pieces that I've been able to draw from other photographers, and just the environment that's around me, the way I like to shoot, and I guess the type of personality that I have. I do love seeing black and white photos done really well, but I find myself more drawn to colour, and I've tried to stick with that, but then sometimes I see black and white and it looks fantastic, so I want to go back to shooting black and white stuff, so I can't really make up my mind half the time, so this is all subject to change at any moment. What inspired you to focus on street photography? I don't remember exactly how I started to get into street photography, but I do remember coming across Saul Leiter's work and that being my first street photographer that I followed and was really into their work. Before that, I was really just watching those Instagram accounts that go out to epic locations and shoot a figure wearing a red jacket in a green forest, or hanging off a cliff, or super shallow depth of field with mountains in the background. That sort of standard Instagram-y type shot. But I never had access to that on a daily basis. I lived in Philadelphia. Street photography is what I actually had access to. So Saul Leiter's photos started to inspire me to go out and shoot street. And then through Instagram and the sort of Saul Leiter influence, I found Joshua K. Jackson, 6 Street Under, Craig Whitehead, those types of folks, and I was watching Sean Tucker on YouTube, and street photography has also became a lot more trendy Street photography has also become a lot more trendy in recent years, so it was easy to find inspiration through Instagram, and I like the way that street photography can be imperfect. It doesn't always have to have low ISOs, the exact right shutter speed, the exact right depth of field. You can kind of do what you want. Some of my favourite street photographers shoot basically in auto mode, and I don't have a problem with that because personally I'm not sharp enough and switched on enough to concentrate on my settings while I'm shooting street photography. So making use of that made me feel a lot less like some kind of imposter or cheat for using the automatic features on my camera. I can use manual, and I have done when I feel the need to, but I prefer not to. And if I can get away with it, I won't bother. I can just concentrate on what's happening out in the world in front of me. The other thing that kind of kept me focusing on it is you don't need a lot of gear. You can take one small camera and one lens. You don't need full frame. You don't need all the fancy big DSLR lenses or zooms or really fast primes that end up being massive and heavy. You don't need any of that. You can do it with smaller, lighter cameras, carry less gear, and generally that works out better as well. Also, being more of an introvert, I kind of like that I don't have to talk to people while I'm doing it and direct things and set scenes up. I can just be there and wait for something to happen or watch for things to happen and take pictures of it. So there's a nice low barrier to entry to shooting street. The downside to it is that it's probably the hardest form of photography to get a picture that's actually good. And while I like a lot of the pictures that I've got just now, I think that as I develop in a couple of years' time, maybe I won't like any of the pictures that I've got just now. So like, I have a portfolio that I'm proud of, but when I see the like much more developed, the great street photographers and the pictures that they were able to make, then I could quite happily just start all over again with everything that I've got. So yeah, it's super hard, but super rewarding when you do get a picture you like and you do feel that progression. Let's move on. I've been on this one a while. How have you found street photography to have changed in a post-corona world? And I mean, for me, it's the obvious lack of people that are out and about. But beyond that, I think it's harder to get closer to the people you do see. When I was walking around Philly, people would, if you were coming towards someone on the street, one of you would walk out into the middle of the street to avoid being close to the other one. So it makes it more difficult generally to go unnoticed. People are more aware of your presence and don't really want you to go up close to them. I should have bleeped out. There might be bleeps in this video. The bleeps is me saying about the thing that is happening in the world that demonetizes videos on YouTube. But yeah, also my actions have changed and I'm not necessarily going out to look for the same types of street photography that I would do before like March kind of time. I'm focusing a little bit more on the details around the streets, the light. I got way more into my dog walking in Wissahickon project that I'd been doing for a little while before, but I really started to double down on it during the sort of March onwards sort of time. I do think it's important to keep shooting even though you don't have access as much to the type of photography that you might want to be shooting, because you don't know if something's going to become important or become part of a series later on. I know that some of the pictures I shot for my dog walking in Wissahickon project, the place changed before I even left. There was a laundromat that I took like a kind of side-on picture of, and like a week later, 2 weeks later, the sign was gone and the place shut down, and I had no idea that was going to happen. But I'm glad I have that picture now, because there's other pictures in that same project that included that place with no sign hung up at all. So that's why it's important to just keep taking pictures, even though it's not necessarily what you want. It might become important further down the line. Your use of light, color, and framing in your photography is incredible. What do you find your eye drawn to most when looking for something to capture? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I mean, generally the first thing I'll notice is interest in light or shadows, and I'll sort of look for pictures within that. So in the mornings when I walk the dog, I go down the end of the block and then I walk back up the sort of main street where the shops and generally more interesting stuff is, with the sun behind me, looking for the shadows and like pockets of light that it might cast. And then I'm looking for interesting lines, colors, frames, reflections, gestures, and objects. That was what I wrote in there. And it becomes not really conscious after a while. You just kind of get used to looking for that stuff. And for the longest time, for probably most of my first year of doing this, I would often carry this little notepad where I would write down things to look for, and or like the types of scenes that I thought I would find in the place that I was going, or what I was interested at that sort of time, just to remind me when I sort of felt lost. like up in my own head and thinking I can't see anything, I can't figure out what to shoot. So I'd look at this pad and just be like, is there any of this around me? Do we have strong shadows anywhere? Go and find those. Do we have like weird interesting objects? Let's go and shoot some of that. And just having that sort of physical reminder in my pocket would help. I guess in my phone as well sometimes, but just having that reminder would help me to focus on things and finding pictures that I thought would make good pictures. A lot of your photography is night shots. What would be your tips for photographers who are looking to shoot at night? Don't worry so much about high ISO. I know a lot of people really don't like to have high ISO in their pictures, and that's fair. If you really hate it, then you're going to have to just sort of fight through it and figure out how to have a slower shutter speed, maybe use a tripod, whatever else you need to do. I'm not so bothered about the technical perfection and just want to get a usable image. So I'll put my shutter speed as low as I'm willing to hand hold. So 1/250th at the most, usually 1/125th or 1/100th at the low end. And that will generally sort of freeze motion enough unless something's moving really fast. And I'll let the ISO go up to 12,800 if it needs to. And I found that I've got a lot of pictures that I really like from that, and I don't even, like, personally, I don't really notice the grain that much. I've printed some of them off in like a magazine size prints, and you wouldn't know they were shot at 12,800 ISO. It's kind of crazy if you ask me. So that would be my first tip, is to stop worrying about it. It's not that bad. And then gravitate towards light sources, see if there's something interesting happening. Maybe there's people in it, maybe it casts an interesting shadow somewhere or reflection and you can use it in some way. If not, crack on somewhere else. I'm always looking at like signs and roadworks, etc. Often I'd revisit the same areas with those lights. So Chinatown in Philly was a place I would often go to at nights, because you could find that same pocket of light and different times and different days, different things were happening. You know, you could hang around there, or if nothing was happening, you'd come back another night and maybe something cool would happen, or you'd find a slightly different composition. Personally, I can't wait till I go back and visit Philly and can go back to Chinatown again and see how it's changed and see if I can find any new compositions in the same spots. Next question is, one look at your Instagram and it's immediately easy to see that your photography features a wide range of cities and countries. Where has been your favourite place to shoot yet? My first thought is to say Philly, because I mean it's not bad, it's pretty good for street photography, but it's the only place that I've spent dedicated time to shooting street photography. Any other time I've been travelling, and any street shots that I get from that has been just incidental to like exploring with my wife. And yeah, I haven't set out specifically to explore those cities and shoot street photography in them. So, I mean, Philly, I would say, has been my favourite place to shoot, but absolutely no doubt that if I was to get a week in an apartment on 5th Avenue in New York, or a month, or however long I could afford, then New York would... My camera battery died, and I didn't realise, and I kept talking for ages. But yeah, New York would probably become my favourite place to shoot very quickly if that was to happen. And lastly, what would be your main piece of advice for photographers who are just starting out? Have patience, but shoot like you can't wait. And what I mean by that is it's going to take a long time to feel like you're good at street photography, to feel good about the pictures you've got, and to sort of build up that kind of portfolio. I would expect in the first year, you might not have that many pictures that you absolutely love. You might put together kind of a portfolio, but as you progress, you're going to very quickly start knocking the ones that aren't as strong off of that. I was recently watching or listening or reading an interview with Matt Stewart, who's a Magnum nominee, I think, and he said that in the first, it took from 1997 to 1999 before he took one good street picture. So in that time he probably took a lot that he thought were decent, but not great, and it was that perseverance that eventually yielded a picture that he thought was great. or good, or however he characterized it. And the shoot like you can't wait means you have to shoot every day, hoping that you might get a great image, but not necessarily expecting that you will. So don't get discouraged by it. I carry my camera every single morning when I'm walking the dog, and even when I went to like Walmart last night, I still would carry the camera just in case something happens and I see something. 99% of the time, nothing does, but on that 1% when something happens, at least you'll have your camera and you'll be ready to take a picture. So yeah, be patient about it, but shoot every day as if you need it to happen right now. Actually, this take was probably better than my last take of it, because I rambled on quite a bit about that. I want to say thank you to the folks at Northern Street Collective for asking me to be interviewed and featuring me on their website and social media. This is like it's a fairly new street collective account, but it's grown really fast, and it's even probably almost doubled in size in the last month or two that I've been following it. So that's pretty cool. It's also really cool to be next to Kevin Mullins and Ian Holworth on their website, which is kind of a nice ego boost. And also sort of embarrassing because their work is much more developed than mine, and I aspire to be more like them. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So go and check out the Northern Street Collective. I will link their Instagram and website down below, and go and give them a follow, show them some support. Use their hashtag. They are regularly featuring people who use their hashtag, and you don't have to be from the north of England to be considered to be part of it. They run competitions and do all sorts of stuff like that. It's a pretty active little community. So yeah, go check that out. Thanks very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.